think we're about to get ready. Well, we are ready. Almost. We got to swear in the counters. With the counters, please come forward.
I know, really. Gotta watch out. No, keeps me on my toes, you know. Keeps my arithmetic skills. You know, keep it focused. Right?
Not bad, yourself?
All right.
No.
All right. I believe we do have a quorum. Counters have been appointed. We don't have the scouts here tonight. We have some volunteers. Is it not on? Can you hear me now? Talk right into it, I guess. Okay. David, do we have any volunteers for the microphones? Okay, Tom, okay, all right. Okay, I think there is a quorum present. See if I can find my gavel. All right, I'm going to call this special town meeting for August 20th to order. Is there a return of the warrant? Well, before we get to that, why don't we say the Pledge of Allegiance? And we don't have the scouts, so I'll go on my name. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, so if we have any visitors, asking them to sit in the front row, or if we do have an overflow, I'm going to ask visitors to move into the selectmen's room, but right now it doesn't look like we'll have an overflow, so we should be good. The meeting is conducted under the rules of town meeting time and the general laws. It's being recorded by Townsend Cable Access Media, Community Access Media. Just to review some of our rules in town meeting time, if you want to speak, please raise your hand and I will recognize you. If I don't know who you are, I'll ask you for your name and address. I'll try to remember that, but if I don't, please forgive me. Then direct all your comments to the chair. All motions must be in writing and brought to the clerk. If the matter is finally voted tonight, it may be reconsidered by a majority vote if it's brought forward tonight. If the meeting goes into the second night, it would require a 9/10 vote to be reconsidered. If the vote is taken and I make a determination that I feel it reaches the quantum of vote, that decision can be challenged by 7 voters that stand to say they challenge the vote. If you're confused about a situation on the floor, raise your hand and state point of order. Usually you'll say, Mr. Moderator, point of order. That interrupts the speaker, and I will address you to find out what your point of order is. If there is a problem, we'll address it. Also, if there's a point of privilege, that's because you can't hear what's going on, or there's some disturbance that's interfering with the meeting, you can raise a point of privilege. As you, I think, all know, a motion to move the question cuts off debate. It's not debatable. think that's about everything we have. Just ask everybody to remain courteous, keep applause to the minimum, and we will try to get through this meeting without a second night, hopefully. Okay, Madam Clerk, is there a return of the warrant?
Yes, Mr. Moderator, thank you. Pursuant to the within warrant, I have notified and warned the inhabitants of the town of Townsend by posting up attested copies of the same at Memorial Hall, 272 Main Street at the Center, West Townsend Reading Room, 264 Dudley Road in West Townsend, the police station, 70 Brookline Road, Harbor Fire Station, 41 Main Street, and the Harbor Church, 8 Main Street, at least 14 days before the date of the meeting as within directed. Michelle Dole, Constable of Townsend.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. I think we're ready to start. Article 1, I move that the town vote to transfer from Water Enterprise Fund the sum of $656.11 for the purpose of paying fiscal year 23 impact Badger meter invoice. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer from the Water Enterprise Fund the sum of $656.11 for the purpose of paying the fiscal year 23 impact Badger meter invoice.
Is there a second? All right, motion's been made and seconded. Anything to be said? Really a routine, I think. All right. No? Ma'am? Yeah, you can wait for a microphone.
Hi, Victoria Janicki, Old Battery Road. Did I miss it? Where is that funds coming from? Is that from Treasury or from the Water Department?
I believe it's from the Water Enterprise Fund.
Okay, thank you.
All right, no one up the balcony. I guess we're ready to vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. 5 9/10. Article 2, to see if the town will vote to amend Article 4 of May 7th, 2024 ATM by transferring from the ambulance receipts reserve fund the sum of $800,000 to defray the charges and expenses of the operating EMS for fiscal year 25, or take any other action in relation thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator,
Shane.
I move that the town vote to amend Article 4 of the May 7, 2024 annual town meeting by transferring from the ambulance receipt reserve fund the sum of $800,000 to defray the charges and expenses of operating EMS for fiscal year 25.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, sir, on the floor, Mr. Shepherd, he might be able to elucidate things. Okay.
What is the amount of uncollectibles in the EMS department?
All right, I think the person that is next going to speak might have some answers for that possibly. Chief Shepherd.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. As your chief of the Fire EMS Department, I'm happy to answer that question. Over the past few years, the uncollectible amount for those that are either not capable or have died was $450,000. Does that satisfy the question? Well, that's a longer conversation that I'm not sure we want to get into right now, right here. But like I said, some folks don't have the ability, some folks have no capacity, they may not have insurance, some have died, there's a variety of reasons.
Okay, question comes on the...
So, Mr. Moderator, while I still have the microphone, I want to point out to the town tonight that we in the Townsend Fire EMS Department have worked very diligently over the past few years. We've got 61 on our roster, 55 active. For the first time that I think I ever, in my memory, know that either through billing, aggressively paying attention to anything that we can claw back and watching our expenses. Our ambulance reserve receipt account this year was $971,000, and anything above $700,000 has been significant. So to be able to get that close to $1 million in one fiscal year, I think speaks to the commitment that the members of the department have. Now that said, we're willing to support and give back to the community, but understand with what's happening in the medical world throughout this area, specifically with the closing of Neshoba Hospital, it's going to increase our response times. It's going to take more of our ambulance and medical people out of the area for longer times. And this $100,000 that we're giving back, you may see me stand up at a special town meeting and ask the town to consider giving us some money back at some point in time. We've been very active with 1,700 runs. That's not a small quantity of runs. So we are very supportive of the community, but I just want to point that out that this year we'll give back $900,000 to the community for the budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Are there any other questions or comments? Appears we're ready to vote. All those in favor of the motion on Article 2, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, it's unanimous. Article 3, to see if the town will vote to amend Article 4 of the May 7th, 2024 annual town meeting by reducing by $66,300 from the amounts voted to raise and appropriate and transfer from available funds in the Treasury the sums necessary to defray the charges and expenses of the town for fiscal year 25 as follows and as is indicated in the warrant. With your permission, I won't read each of these articles. Is any objection to that? No. Now we will hear the motion. Is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend Article 4 of May 7, 2024 annual town meeting by reducing by $66,300 for the amounts voted to raise and appropriate and transfer from available funds in the Treasury and the sums necessary to defray the charges and expenses of the town for fiscal year 25 as follows. By reducing line 1, Board of Selectmen Town Administrator by the sum of $6,000 for a new line of $129,000. Reducing line 4, Board of Selectmen raises other auto allowance by the sum of $2,800 for a new line of $2,000. By reducing line 112, MIS Communications by the sum of $10,000 for a new line of $5,000, and D by reducing line 284, Police New Equipment by the sum of $47,500 for a new line of $47,500.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there anything to be said? Ms. King?
Testing? Okay. We're good.
Away from the speaker.
Oh, all right. Okay. I have a question or a request for clarification and make sure that we understand. 3D, the police new equipment by $47,500 for a new line total of $47,500. I know that there was some talk with the FinCom approving this, but we're delaying the lease payment, but we have the vehicles and we're just putting off paying the lease payment. Is that, I think that's the way I understand it, that we've got the vehicle, we're just not paying for it, and we're gonna pay for it from free cash that we might get in the fall or in a few months. Is that the way I understand it? That it's not, we're not cutting the police budget at all, we're just delaying payment of the lease for the vehicles?
Question comes on the motion. Brought from Mr. Perry.
Good evening. we're delaying the acquisition of those police cruisers. So we're not getting them now and paying later, we're getting them later. We've checked with the chief and he's comfortable with doing that.
Comments come on the question on Article 3. Any other questions? Yep, sir.
Jacek Kostanowski, 16 Narissa Drive. Very simple question. I'm grateful to our police department for delaying this acquisition of cruisers. However, the article states another funding source as future source of financing. What is the another funding source, and what kind of assurance do we have that during the next meeting funds will be available? Because I would like our police department to actually receive these cruisers as delayed now. Thank you.
Okay, questions come on Article 3. Anyone offer explanations? Sounds somewhat to the question Ms. King had. Concern about the budget, Mr. Perry.
All he's doing is delaying in this fiscal year 6 months. So we'll pick up the cruisers in December or January and we'll pay for it with that 47.5 at that point. So he still gets the police cruisers, but we're not paying for, we're not getting them for the first 6 months.
Understood. What is the money coming going 6 months from now?
It's already been budgeted. That's what the 47.5 is for the cruisers.
Okay, comments come on the motion.
Shall the game continue?
Is there anything else to be said?
My
In
question
the
is,
balcony, thank you, David. Up in the balcony, if you could step over towards the microphone, please.
And Stevens, Seaver Road. I'd like to make a motion that these 4 things get separated and have separate votes on each one.
Is there a second? All right, then you'll need to write that motion up and bring it up to the town clerk. Go ahead. We are waiting for that motion. Any other questions? Mike, Tom?
Victoria Janicki, Old Battery Road. I just was interested, does the Finance Committee have an opinion or recommendation on any of these on Article 3?
Okay, question comes on the motion for the Finance Committee.
Hi, Don Hayes, Finance Committee Chair. We recommend Article 3. These are reductions in the negotiations for A and B. We don't recommend separating. We want to keep them together because they're just all reductions on different lines. We had the discussion about separating them because originally when we had the draft warrant, it was all $95,000 for the cruisers were coming. So we had the recommendation to put it in here so we don't have to have a special town meeting in the fall, and all of the monies are in the budget to pay for these lines as they exist with the reductions. We don't necessarily see a need to break them up. They're just all reductions. And understanding the technicalities with each one, the money for the $10,000 from MIS is coming from equipment that was removed as we did of the upgrades. So with all of those, it just seems easier to leave it and vote it as a single article, would be our opinion.
Okay, it's a procedural motions before us, whether or not to split the vote. Don't, Ms. King?
I have to move over here because if I talk next to the speaker, it's all static. Again, Cindy King, I just want to comment that it does appear that it's much easier to just do them all at once, but I think in the interest of transparency, we can quickly vote each one, but doing each one individually I think makes sense, just to settle any concerns any citizen might have of not understanding one or the other, and just all four of them independently. Thank you.
Comments come on the motion. I think this is really a procedural issue, and I think the floor should decide now whether you want to vote them separately or all together. So the motion is to vote these subsections separately. All those in favor to vote separately on each item, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. No. The noes have it. The article is before you. The motion is before you. Any further to be said about the contents of the article? Motion on Article 3. Here's where we're ready to vote. Of course, I'm kind of blindsided up the balcony, so if you do have your hand up the balcony, just say, Mr. Moderator, okay? I don't see any hands. So, I think we're ready to vote. All those in favor of the motion on Article 3, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Article 4. To see if the town will vote to amend the town vote on Article 4 of the May 7th, 2024 annual town meeting by increasing the amounts voted to raise and appropriate transfer from available funds in the treasury the sums necessary to defray the charges and expenses of the town for fiscal year 25 as follows. A, by increasing line 500, North Middlesex Regional School District assessment by the sum of $691,475 for a new line total of $13,026,761. And B, by transferring from the general stabilization account the sum of $136,000 in order to balance the budget. Is there a motion?
Point of order, that doesn't match what you said.
What doesn't match what I said?
You said 600-something K, and that says 500.
I'm sorry, you got to be, I need to recognize you. If you've got a point of order, you need the microphone.
Point of order.
Mr.
One point of order at a time. We'll raise the point of order over here. Whoever it was, if you can identify yourself and get a microphone.
Dave Walker, South Row Road. I think the question is, you read out an amount of like 600,000. The amount in the paper and up on the screen says 505,755.
Okay. So I'm reading from, good point. I'm reading from the motions and sort of ad-libbing because I did not, apparently misplaced the actual articles. So, if you'll excuse me for a minute, I'll see if I can find a copy. Usually I have a copy with me, but,
John, is this what you need?
yeah.
You need the motion, the actual motion.
So I can grab
The motions,
Not this, okay.
There it is, I got it. Okay, good point. Because there was a change from the article to the motion. Oh. I don't know. Now I'm confused even more because there is a, what do you have, Madam Clerk? Right, okay. Did I use that one? Because this is another one I got, I don't know where I got that one from, because that's just the articles revised. Okay, gonna do that over again. Article 4, to see if the town will vote to amend Article 4 of the May 7th, 2024 ATM by increasing the amounts voted to raise and appropriate and transfer from available funds in the Treasury such sums that may be necessary to defray the charges and expenses of the town for the fiscal year 2025 as follows. A, increase line 500, North Middlesex Regional School District assessment by $505,755 for a new line total of $12,841,232. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, in lieu of Ashby having their town meeting the same night as we are, they have voted to say yes on this article, which therefore the ask for, or the allocation from the school is at their original amount, effective July 10th. Therefore, Mr. Moderator, I amend the motion to read the town vote to amend Article 4 of the May 7th, 2024 annual town meeting by increasing the amounts voted to raise and appropriate and transfer from available funds in the Treasury the sum necessary to defray the charges and expenses of the town for fiscal year 25 as follows. By increasing line 500 North Middlesex Regional School District assessment by the sum of $691,475 for a new line total of $13,026,761. By transferring from the general stabilization account the sum of $136,000 in order to balance the budget.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. It is at variance with the article. However, it is my opinion that it is within the four corners of the article. Even though it is an increase, it is the actual article provided that take other action in relation thereto. And this is overall, considering the fact that this has been a very fluid situation with people having to adjust to different other towns' votes, I believe it is in order. So, the motion is before you to increase the North Middlesex school budget to $691,475, and to do so also by transferring $136,000 from the general stabilization fund. Because we are also in this motion voting to transfer from the general stabilization account, it requires a 2/3 vote. Anything to be said? Mrs. King.
Mrs. Lord, that's my.
Oh, all right, sorry.
Okay.
Lloyd, I'm sorry.
Sandra Lord, Wells Hill Road. I'm just trying to understand this. It's going to come from the stabilization fund or take any other action in relation thereto. The bottom line, does that mean taxes will go up?
Okay, question comes on the motion. Does that mean taxes are going to go up?
Mr.
Mr. Moderator?
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Perry.
Taxes will go up to what was approved on May 7th this year, because that was a level funding of FY24 number. So the taxes will go up to accommodate this number. We're addressing some of this number with a transfer from stabilization to minimize that increase.
How much will it minimize it by?
We're minimizing the impact on taxes by the $136,000 that will be coming out of stabilization.
Okay, comments come on the question. Mr. Shaka.
Joe Shaka, Maplewood Drive. What happens if we vote this down?
Question comes on motion. Mr. Perry?
If you vote down the school number, you will get it anyway because 2 out of 3 towns have already voted it, which means you have to come back for another town meeting to figure out how to balance the budget. So because Ashby being the second town, it puts us in sort of a difficult situation.
Okay, comments come on the motion in the back, on the floor here.
What's the total in the stabilization fund, and where did that money come from?
Question comes on the motion.
We have that slide. It's about $1.3 million in stabilization. The current balance in stabilization is $1,303,967.49. This has been ticking upwards, so I think it's an indication that we're keeping the savings account. It's becoming a little smaller percentage of the overall budget, but it's still in a healthy situation and it's ticking upwards. I'm proposing that in a future town meeting, if there's a special town meeting this winter, that they transfer from free cash once it's been certified and replace the money that's taken out tonight so that the balance will be back to where it is now.
Comments come on the motion on the back row there.
Carol Wright, Warren Road. For us old people who can't read the thing up there and can't hear the people speaking, could someone please slowly and clearly repeat the end of the article with the new stuff added?
You mean the part about the stabilization account? Okay, I'll try to do that. So the motion is to increase the assessment for North Middlesex Regional School District by the sum of $691,475, creating a new line total of $13,026,761 for the NMRS budget from Townsend. And by transferring from the stabilization account the sum of $136,000 to balance the budget. If I'm not mistaken, and I don't mean to steal the Selectmen's thunder, but I believe the town had, or the Selectmen had approved that number you saw of $505,000. When Ashby voted to approve the full budget that the school committee requested, that put Townsend in the awkward position of being really forced to vote that full appropriation that the school committee had proposed. So that's essentially why it's going up, well, roughly I guess about 186,000 or thereabouts, and some of that increase is going to be dealt with by transferring money from the stabilization account, that 136,000. You're welcome. Mr. Shank.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. So, the money that we're gonna replenish that will come out of, we had sale of 3 properties this spring. So until we get that money certified in free cash, we can't use it. And as soon as it does get certified, we're gonna take that money from the sale of those 3 buildings, and there will still be extra to put back in the stabilization fund to make this work.
Comments come on the motion. Mr. Shepherd, or Chief Shepherd, I should say.
Please don't refer to me on this question as a chief. Mr. Shank, if I could deliver this question to you. I'm concerned only because we've all chipped in and cut, and now the school is going to grab another $180,000. What does that do for our plan, the town's conceptual plan to be able to fund retirement with health insurance? And even if we have to come back for another meeting, doesn't it send a clearer message that enough is enough when the superintendent, who I've enjoyed being on committees with, gave himself a $30,000 raise this year to do double duty? At some point in time, these unfunded mandates have got to stop.
Maintain the decorum on the floor, please. Comments come on the motion. I'm sorry, there was a hand back there. Ms. Craven, I think it was. Or, oh yeah, I saw your hand first, Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. To the chair, if we could just walk this back, because I know it's a pretty complex process that we're going through this evening. So we voted in the 12 million plus or minus. Then we voted down the 2 overrides. Now we have a new sum before us and a plus up on that sum that we saw earlier in preparation for the meeting. When you decided to take a certain sum from the stabilization, does that bring us under the amount that would have required another override?
Question comes on the motion. Mr. Section Ringing.
As far as your question is concerned, can you clarify what you mean by that?
So in our original documentation that we all saw online to prepare for this meeting, we saw a sum of $505,000. And then there's a plus up tonight of about 136 to get it to this 696. Is this number being taken out of the stabilization fund? Does that avoid you coming back to the taxpayers to ask for an override? Is this essentially more than a 2.5% tax increase? Is this a way to move the money out of a fund that already exists rather than going back to ask for an override?
This amount will satisfy the allocation from the schools. We would not need to have another override, and we would not need to go back into another town meeting afterwards, yes.
So essentially, this is the funding that we did shoot down as part of the override?
The school came back to us after and gave this assessment on July 10th. This meets the July 10th assessment that the school submitted to us after we had our town meeting.
Thank you for that clarification.
All right, I think I did see Ms. Kelly.
Kelly,
and then Ms. Lizio.
5 Tourist Lane. I just want to address the comment about the schools not making cuts. I have a list here of the cuts that just happened to North Middlesex School, so if you're aware, you don't have children in the district. And just for point of reference, I know a lot of people have kind of said it's because I have kids. I have 1 out of district and I have 2 who are seniors, so none of these cuts are affecting my children, but I want to let you know what is happening within our district. Since the original budget, North Middlesex has cut $1.9 million off of their original request. Some of that also taken and emptied out their full excess and deficiency fund, so they have no savings account now. So next year, there is no savings left. They have also eliminated an elementary school counselor. They have eliminated a school nurse and reduced it down to an LPN. They have eliminated 5 kindergarten paraprofessionals. They have eliminated an elementary teacher. They have eliminated 4 middle school teachers. They have eliminated 2 middle school paraprofessionals. They have eliminated 1 high school teacher. They eliminated the athletic director. They eliminated the curriculum directors, which is now being funded as Title I grants, which means that the children who need Title I reading services are probably going to get a little less services. They have eliminated half of an ELL, English Language Learner teaching position. They had requested a much needed middle school guidance counselor. That was eliminated. They have eliminated a middle school special education teacher. And they have eliminated a middle school paraprofessional. They made $1 million in staff cuts and emptied the excess and deficiency fund and increased substantially fees on families in this town. So that is what we have done to North Middlesex. This is what we have done to the education of our children, and this is what we have done to our property values in this town. This is what we as a community have voted for, and these cuts are substantial, and I'm not sure how we're coming back from this.
Comments come on the motion. Ms. Lizio.
I'm just curious as to, I know that going ahead isn't allowed in a way, but we have another article where we talk about taking money from stabilization. I'm assuming that's to balance the budget. So I'm wondering why we would have to vote on this one. I can see needing to adjust the number because we want to match what the other 2 towns have done. But when it comes to where we're getting some of the money from, in essence, we're adding to the budget, but I'd rather know what's the total after the whole meeting tonight that's going to come out of stabilization rather than piecemealing it. I mean, it's my understanding this is not alone going to balance the budget. Is that correct?
A couple of questions there, Ms. Lizio. So,
Is this...
one is, what's the total budget, and what's your second?
Is this going to balance the budget?
Comments come on the, questions come on the article. Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, through you. We would be not acting upon Article 11 if this passes.
May I clarify?
Go ahead, Ms. Lizio.
This means the only deficit we have to make up in our budget, in our town budget, is the money we're taking from stabilization in this article.
Through you, Mr. Moderator, yes.
Thank you.
May I just add that if the other articles passed as proposed, then the chairman is correct. No other override, I mean, no other stabilization funds will be required. No overrides being claimed.
Okay, up in the balcony.
Hello, Mark Hasbrook, 12 Dalton Drive. I just wanted to point out, in regards to another comment just made, we lost the principal in the high school as well. Mr. Morgan, Superintendent Morgan, is going to be double duty that position. Despite him getting a stipend for covering 2 positions for the year, it's still a $100,000 cut to the actual administration of the school district. So to infer that that is a added fee is just plain wrong. It's a $100,000 reduction. Then this amount here is almost half the original ask. As Kelly mentioned, there's been substantial cuts already in the school, and any more than that, we don't have a school. Thank you.
Comments come on the motion. Anything further to be said? There was a hand. Okay, I think, is that Mr. LeQueer?
Thank you, Mr. Wong.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. James Loquio, 171 Fitchburg Road, Townsend. For all you that have been around for many years, I've been here a while myself and seen a lot go on. I want to bring up the point, poor management and overspending is a big part of our problem right here. And this was predicted by a former select person, Carolyn Smart. Nobody took her suggestions, and here we are in this mess. What are we going to do to get out of this without throwing all the taxation back on other citizens of Townsend that aren't looking forward to these increases and still be satisfied with what's going on in our school systems? We have to work, and you people have got to pull it together. We voted for you. Thank you.
Comments come on the motion. Anything else? Anyone else have a comment or a question? Okay, I do have one up in the balcony, and then who's down here? Oh, Miss Craig. Okay, up in the balcony, and then Miss Craig.
Brian Pinkerton, 4 West Elm. I'm not really up to date on it. Is there an E&D account for the high school? And if there is, how much is in it, and why can't we take from that?
Okay, I think that was responded to, but I'm not sure if Ms. Kelly can, or the town, Ms. Kelly, want to respond to that? If the selectmen don't mind, or Mr. Perry?
So there was an E&D, an excess and deficiency fund, which is for the entire district, not just for the high school, and they have emptied it. It is gone in order to prevent any additional staff cuts. They emptied it. It is gone. There is no more E&D fund at the schools.
Okay, comments come on the motion. And Ms. Craven had her hand up first.
Mr. Moderator, to the chair, sorry to belabor the point. It's just one that I'm having a really hard time with. I looked at the warrant and I almost said, 500, it's not so bad, I might stay home tonight. I came, and it increased. My worry is, if we did vote down the 2.5 override, this is essentially those funds. We're going to take it from stabilization, that goes down, I understand, we'll replenish it. My concern is for the future. So this money will now be in the budget for next year. And I know you can't predict the future, but essentially these funds will go back onto our regular budget for next year. And I know you cannot predict whether there'd be an override or not, but this is going to be a continuing sum of funds that we're going to have to come up with in the future. Question 1, and then question 2, if we do pass this tonight, that means our town budget stays intact and we don't have to make budgetary cuts to the current positions.
Okay, comments, questions come on the motion, and is anyone able to address those?
I think if I understood your question, if this number passes, yes, this potentially becomes part of the budget for next year. And then you asked about the town budgets?
Yeah, so the second part was, by keeping this in this article, if it gets voted yes, it means that our budget continues without any cuts. If we were to vote no, it means you have to go back to the budget to figure out where that other money would come from.
I believe that is correct. A no vote on this article would mean you have to come back to the town meeting to figure out more cuts.
Okay, thank you.
Comments come on the motion, and up in the balcony.
Chris Nosella, South Harbor Road. I'm a little concerned with this because if I remember from, I don't even remember which meeting it was, we've had so many, where the schools came and talked to us about the budgets, and the North Middlesex Commissioner, or whatever he is, said that we would need to have overrides every year because he's going to have to increase. And where Kelly said that they took all their money out of their bank account just to help this budget, does that mean it's going to get twice as worse next year when they're going to want more money? So it means they're going to want, I don't know, 11, 12, 13, 14 extra $1 million. We can't let them keep doing this. I feel bad for everybody that has kids, but I'm retired on a fixed income. There's only so much I can pay.
All right, nominations, and I think this gentleman up there. Yep.
Kyle Leary, 2 Capricorn Lane. I'm just curious how much the police budget will need to increase when the kids have nowhere to go, a poor education, and are still living at home when they're 20, 25 because they weren't given a chance. I understand there are people who are on a fixed income and raising taxes is a scary thing. But if you really look at how much it's being raised, it is very minimal. And that money that we're not giving, if you choose to not give this money to the school, it will then have to go to the police budget, who are going to have to deal with the uptick of crime that is going to happen to this town.
Comments come on the motion, and sir?
Hi, Mark Hasbrook, 12 Balsam. I just wanted to point out that it was also made very clear when they reduced the school budget by using all the emergency funding and stabilization funding, that was to save another 12 to 20 teachers from being cut this year. We are on track to lose an additional 12 to 20 teachers next year if funding doesn't come through at that point in time. Or possibly close another school, or they're running out of answers. Just to bring everyone back to where we were, why they're asking for the original override to begin with. Thank you.
Comments come on the motion. And it looks like we're ready to vote.
Mr. Moderator?
Ms. King?
I think there's somebody else.
Oh, I didn't see. There's a hand over here. All right. That's it. Let's go ahead.
Hi, I have two things, 2 comments. One, regarding the specifics of this article. What they announced tonight is that Ashby passed the school budget. Pepperell already had. So because we're in the district, we do this periodically every few years, where sometimes we're clapping because Pepperell did this or Ashby did that, and we're off the hook. Or sometimes we're all on the hook, and poor Ashby or poor Pepperell gets stuck balancing everybody, the whole school budget, because Townsend and Ashby passed the budget and Pepperell didn't. And then sometimes poor Ashby really gets stuck in the lurch. This time, it's us. That we've been fighting, or our leadership has been fighting to this school budget, and fighting it and fighting it and fighting it, and having Facebook wars and everything else to stop this thing. But right now, the announcement tonight that Ashby passed, that's the second town out of the 3. We're on the hook. We're going to have to come back. If we don't pass this tonight, we're going to be back here again with another STM and another STM and another STM until we do. The question is, where's the money coming from? Where's the transfer? Tonight, I'm not happy about the stabilization thing at all. But I don't want to, I'm not thrilled with this at all. I'm okay with funding the schools, but we're in a legal lurch right now. And that's honest to God the truth. It's not about Superintendent Morgan taking $30,000 stipend because he's doing 2 jobs. That's not that has nothing to do with this issue tonight. It has to do with we're the 3rd town and we're in the lurch. We're done. We have to pay that. We got to pay it. It's a matter of how. We got to just take it out of something. I'm not thrilled, but we got to do it. So we do have to pass this. My second issue is everybody at that table just said the budget is completely balanced. There's no more issue. We're completely equally, no more money. We don't need any more money because once we pass this, there's no more money needed. But yet, in a couple more articles, we're going to be talking about trash fees because the budget isn't balanced. We're over $800,000 in the hole, even if everything passes tonight. So this nonsense about the budget being balanced is they're not telling the truth. They still need $800,000 and they're planning on taking it from somewhere else. So this is, the budget is not balanced. If they want to hold to that, and we're not going to talk about trash fees, I'll believe them. But they're going to talk about trash fees on Article 6. Thank you.
Mr. Sexton Duranian.
I just want to be clear that the statement was if all articles pass tonight, the budget will be balanced.
Comments come on the motion. Mr. Muzendowski.
Mr. Moderator, I have to admit I'm confused. So we initially were supposed to vote on about $505,000. I want to make it clear to everybody I support allocation of money for the school budget. However, I would really like to understand where this money is coming from. And I think that's what I'm confused. So the difference between 505 and the new number, 600 plus, this is coming from stabilization fund. So where is the 505,000 coming from? Because so far, I probably missed it, but I haven't heard it. Thank you.
Question comes on the motion. Is there any response? If we can, see if we can get town selectmen have a response to
Mr. Moderator,
that question.
the 505,000 is in the original budget that we passed in May. So that's already in the budget. The extra 136 is coming out of stabilization. So like Ms. King said, we have no choice but to pay this. We can kick this can down the road, come to another special town meeting. The 136,000 should be able to be. The 136,000 should be put back in the stabilization fund, as I stated earlier. We had 3 auctions this summer, and that money, we can't use it until it's certified by the state, and then once it does, the money will go back in. So it's money in and out. I don't know how else to explain it.
Comments come on the question. I can see Ms. Lizio, no, Mr. Shaka.
Thank you. Joe Shaka, Maplewood Drive. In pursuit of his question, is the money we'd be saving from the trash pickup going towards this $500,000? I think that's the question.
Question comes on motion.
Mr. Moderator?
Mr. Perry.
The money to fund the school budget is coming from numerous resources. It's coming from your taxes, raised and appropriate. Some of it is coming from stabilization. Part of balancing the budget will be the trash discussion that I'm guessing is coming up shortly. So it's coming from a collection of local revenues, outside revenues from the state. And all of this makes up what goes into your budget.
So, yes. To the question.
Partly yes, I guess is the answer to that.
Thank you. So, wait, one more thing.
Okay,
So,
I can see.
one more thing?
Yeah, just, all right, let's follow up.
So our taxes are being raised at 2.5% for the budget. And then we're going to be paying extra on top of that for trash pickup.
Your taxes are going up 2.5%. There will be trash fees. There's also local revenues. There's a lot of revenue sources that go into making this whole budget.
I mean, I understand how this works. The school needs money. They ask for more money from the town needs money. They ask for more money from the citizens. But there comes a point where some citizens don't have extra money. It's got to stop someplace. I don't know where it's got to stop. It's going to have to stop someplace. It can't keep going up every year. There's a limit. I can't go someplace. I'm retired. I can't go someplace and get a raise. So I can't ask anybody for money. And someplace it has to stop.
Comments come on the motion. I know Mr. Shepherd had his hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I know Brad's in the room somewhere tonight. Sorry, Brad, if I'm about to pick on you, but you know, when we all have to chip in and give back, and I was in favor of the 2.5 override, I support the school, but I'm having a hard time swallowing, however you want to showcase the increase for doing a salary job. If Brad decided he wanted to give back some of that $30,000, I might be more inclined to vote. And I think it's important that we have a balanced budget. But at some point in time, unfunded mandates, we shouldn't even have these meetings. We're just going to have to give up and give up and give up. Enough is enough. Is the management cut back any, Brad? Or is it just teachers and students? Things that affect the students that are always being cut.
Comments come on the motion. Maintain the decorum. Ms. Lizio, you had your hand up, I saw earlier.
I think what's confusing me, Mr. Moderator, is it's one thing to say, all right, you've got to put that amount in because the other two towns have already voted it. That's fine. I'll go with that. What I don't know is how's that affecting the bottom line in terms of the other articles. I think that's the confusing part, because I know there's other articles coming up that are either going to increase or decrease our deficit. And to say that I'm going to take 100,000 from stabilization now in this early article, it's like, can we vote on this approving that amount and worry about the total that we would have to take from stabilization at the end? It's confusing because we're doing two things. We're saying we got to go with the North Middlesex agreement. That's a given. The second part, though, is where the money's coming from. Like the town administrator said, it's coming from all different places, but we're earmarking part of it to stabilization when we don't know what the result of the rest of the articles are going to be.
So if I'm correct, you're suggesting, Ms. Lizio, that because we don't know what's going to happen on the other articles, the amount that needs to be taken from stabilization might increase?
That is correct.
Okay. Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, through you. I understand the question, but more importantly, as these articles were published, Article 8 gives a description of money that was coming, that is going into the general fund in regards to many of the cleanup that we've done. It's a lot of these articles are dependent upon balancing the budget. I don't see what's confusing in regards to this other than we are asking for this to come out of the stabilization account in this particular article. The articles were published within the time frame and everything has been put out. So I would like to make a motion, sir, if I can, to move the question.
Time-honored tradition, Mr. Secretary, I do not recognize a motion to move the question after a person speaks on substantial issues in the that are in debate. All right, it's a straight move the question or not. All right, is there anything else to be said? Ms. Kelly.
Sorry, so I just have a question. The way I'm understanding it is the May special town meeting, the May annual town meeting you guys didn't use up the full 2.5%. So the remaining $500,000 is coming from, or this initial $505,000 is coming because our taxes go up 2.5% regardless every year. So you just did not use the full 2.5% when we voted back in May, and this is the excess between what we approved in May and what the 2.5 should be coming in? Is that what I'm understanding or no?
All right, I think the question is whether or not some of the increase is being funded by the natural increase in taxes based on the 2.5% that we can increase taxes by. Is that correct, Kelly?
Yes.
Is there a...
Last May, using the full levy limit, there was still a $1.6 million deficit, and that was why it was an override request. The override failed. So now we've come back with budget adjustments. The school has come back with a budget cut from April to July 10th now, and we've seen a budget overall that's less from the school, it's less from the town, and we're trying to pull together. We're getting close. We're missing by $138,000, $136,000. That's why we're asking for it from stabilization. But we've come a long way between cuts from the school side and the municipal side.
Comments come on the motion. Ms. Lizio. And then, that's right.
In May, you level funded the school. That meant there was not even a 2.5% increase given to the schools. Yet, you said that you couldn't afford it. So you put it on the back of the school to say, good luck, go out there and try to get an override for the big amount that you're asking for. That didn't happen. Now we're coming back, and I'm looking at the town budget, and I'm saying personnel consists of an 8.5% increase. Health insurance, 9.87%. If personnel is the major part of the town budget, and it's increasing by 8.5%, then you're over 2.5 on the town side. And you're asking, or we're asking, for it to come from the schools, or from the override that you were hoping they were going to get. I want to know what we're cutting from the town side of the budget before I can start talking about taking from stabilization and start talking about potentially different way of picking up trash. I just don't think it's transparent. I think we're taking a balloon of money and we're squeezing the balloon one way and then the other. The numbers simply don't work. The numbers simply don't work. Is the town budget right now over a 2.5% increase? Just looking at the town budget.
Question comes on the motion, and I know there's a number of people that still want to speak. I'm going to give the selectman or the town administrator a chance to respond to that. I want to recognize Ms. Wright, and then I'll recognize Mr. Rao. Because Ms. Wright had her hand up, you didn't see her, Gene. All right, Mr. Shank.
Mr. Moderator, thank you. Did everybody get the handout? It says reductions, efforts, grants, ARPA funding. You read down, Sue, you asked the question, what have we done? Let me just highlight a couple of the things we did. We reduced the insurance costs. We reduced the insurance cost with the new agent by $30,000. We reduced the cost from the municipal building consolidation of electrical accounts by $60,000. We negotiated a lower TA salary. We reduced the IT cost with the help from a $100,000 grant for fiber by $10,000. We reduced monthly costs migrating from old website by $1,200. We reduced monies from the stale warrant articles by $18,750. Sale of town property from tax taking, we've done it, but we can't use that money, but it will go into the general fund when it gets certified. We reduced full-time building commissioner with part-time personnel sharing other towns by $13,800. The sale of the property tax is approximately $300,000. Hired a fire chief who agreed to work for half pay, saved $60,000. The Board of Health negotiated a lower rate for trash collection for fiscal '25. We saved $70,000. Employing a part-time health agent versus employing a full-time person, we saved $25,000. We avoided charges from external arborists using town resources to trim the historic trees in the town center right here, 1,500. The efforts by the water superintendent with the new PFAS facility that's being built, we were all on the hook for $13 million. Well, we're not going to have to pay that 13. That's what we've reduced, that's tax saving. We will pay that 13 million, but we don't have to. So them are just some of the things, the grants that we're working on. So we as a board have worked as hard as we could to try to save money. I've heard it, I've seen everybody, I've seen all the Facebook posts. Everyone wants us to cut everybody. I mean, if anyone wants to pick any of your employees you want to fire, anybody want to pick any employees you want to fire or get rid of, put a list together. We're trying to do right by all our citizens, all our employees. We're all in this together. The biggest problem we have in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is the state mandates all the things that we have to do, but they don't fund them. What are we going to do? I just want to make one comment. Mr. Leclerc brought up a person's name earlier that, you know, this was going to come down. If we would not have run out of this town, I've been in this town for 51 years. I have seen big businesses come to try to start in this community. That would be a tax revenue for us. They ran them out of town. They didn't allow them to come in town. So we can go on and on forever. But we're all in this together. We've got to fund the schools. We've got to get a balanced budget. And I really don't know how else we can try to do this. And we all have to work together.
Comments come on the motion. Mrs. Wright.
I second.
Okay, motion made to move the question. This will cut off debate. It's not debatable. All those in favor of moving the question, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. I believe it's unanimous. So that is it for the debate. And the question is now before you. It does require 2/3 vote in order to take from stabilization. So all those in favor of the motion on Article 4, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. No. I believe the ayes have it by 2/3. Article. Sorry, that was Article 2. Article 5 is now before you. And the motion is the article is okay, Article 5, see if the town will vote to amend Article 4 of the May 7th, 2024 ATM by increasing the amounts voted to raise and appropriate and transfer from available funds in the Treasury such sums that may be necessary to defray the charges and expenses of the town for fiscal year 2025 as follows. A, increase line 502, Neshoba Valley Technical High School assessment by $248,209 for a new line total of $1,332,041. And B, increase line 503, Neshoba Valley Technical High School exempt debt by $38,929 for a new line total of $86,314. Take any other action in relation thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Shannon.
I move that the town vote to amend Article 4 of the May 7, 2024 annual town meeting by increasing the amount voted to raise and appropriate and transfer from available funds in the Treasury the sum necessary to defray the charges and expenses of the town for fiscal year 25 as follows. A, by increasing line item 502, the Neshoba Valley Technical High School assessment by the sum of $248,209 for a new line total of $1,332,041. B, by increasing line 503 Neshoba Valley Technical High School exempt debit by the sum of $38,929,000 for a new line total of $86,314.
Motion's been made and seconded. Anything to be said? We may have already run over most of these arguments last article. Looks like we are ready to vote. All those in favor of the motion on Article 5, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Article 6, to see if the town will vote to amend Article 4 of the May 7, 2024 annual town meeting by adding an expense under solid waste, line 572 for $25,000, and raising and appropriating the same to cover the expenses for software applications, invoicing and payment processing, and staffing costs for the process to collect curbside trash fees, or take any other action in relation thereto. Is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. Moderator. I move that the town vote to amend Article 4 of the May 7, 2024 ATM by adding an expense under solid waste. By adding an expense under solid waste lines 572 in the amount of $25,000 and raising and appropriating the same to cover the expense for software applications, invoicing, payment processing, and staffing costs for the process to collect curbside trash fees.
Motion's been made and seconded. Sir, in the back.
Are we still going to pay for our trash pickup through our taxes, or are you going to charge us twice for trash pickup? I don't know anybody in here that pays their electric bill twice. Can somebody answer me? Are we going to pay twice?
Question comes on the motion. Is there any response on that from the town?
You will pay for this through your taxes as you're paying through school through your taxes, and you'll be paying for it with a fee on your taxes separately.
So you're going to charge us twice for rubbish pickup, is what you're saying?
No, the trash fee will be a separate fee.
You're still charging us twice. You're already charging us to pick up through our real estate taxes that you've been charging us for rubbish pickup for the last 50 years.
On
So you're going to add
Sir, if you will, please let Dr. Morse respond.
The line for trash fee will be used to offset the increase in the school budget.
Okay. She said that the line on the trash fees will be used to offset the school budget. Is that correct, Dr. Morse?
Yes.
So, sir, did you have a follow-up question on that?
So if I'm paying $300 a year through my real estate taxes, how much more am I gonna be paying for rubbish pickup?
Question comes on the motion. Is there any response?
At this point, we think the high end of the monthly payments would be $40 a month, a little over $300 a year.
And that's on top of the money you're taking from our real estate taxes. The people in this town voted for rubbish pickup.
Comments come on the motion.
Are you gonna give us an abatement on our real estate taxes?
Okay,
for the
we
300
can't
you
give us
collected
that
now
time.
for rubbish pickup?
See if we can get an answer on that one. Mr. Shane?
Mr. Moderator, there is no line item in our tax bill for trash pickup. We are one of 3 communities, I think, in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that have the privilege of having trash pickup because we could afford it. Unfortunately, times are getting tough for all of us.
Joe, if you can hold the mic up closer, unfortunately.
I said we are one of 3 communities, I believe, in the Commonwealth that have trash pickup. We've had the luxury of that for many years because we could afford that in the community, and I understand that. But there's no line item in our tax bill that says $300 goes to taxes for trash.
Well, whatever it costs per individual house, what we're paying.
Okay, sir, if you don't mind, we've got a lot of other people who want to talk, so I allowed you a number of follow-up questions. I want to let some other folks have a chance to ask questions. And I know the gentleman up in the balcony. Again, what's your name, sir?
Hi there, Mark Hasbrook, 12 Balsam again. I just want to correct the town administrator there who said that this is to fund the school. I want to point out that this override was never about the schools alone. And people continue to say that it's all about the schools. This is to fund a 5% increase to the general town budget, a 12.8% increase to public safety, a 7.8% increase to insurance, not just the school. This is a town issue, not a school issue. Thank you.
Comments come on the motion. And back, I think, Mr. LeQuire, and then go over that side. And then Ms. Craven.
James LeQuire, 171 Fitchburg Road, also currently chairman of the Townsend Board of Health. I've also been on the Board of Health for 23 years. I was involved in the capping of our dump, which is now our landfill up there, and all the creations of our recycling center. The Select Board has never approached the Board of Health with anything about this additional cost for trash pickup. The Board of Health has maintained trash pickup since the first contract, which my signature is on because I've been with it that long. This is double dipping the way I've never seen it done before. $25,000 to train more people to figure out how they're going to bill you to pick up your trash. Give them a raise. You can't take the raise away once they receive it. They're going to want the raise to continue to go on. What's being proposed here, with no communication of the Select Board to the Board of Health, in my opinion, is disgraceful. Okay? You decide what you want to do.
With the mic, you would just Yep, there's going to be a lot of folks who want to speak and trying to catch everybody. I've seen this gentleman that I saw, Mr. Craven, I believe.
Dr. Christian Roman, 172 Fitchburg Road, and Vice Chairman of the Board of Health. I wanted to ask, why wasn't the Board of Health propose what we are bringing to this meeting today so that we could have a discussion and give a recommendation? Why is it that the Board of Selectmen took this and not adding participation to the Board of Health?
Question comes on the motion with respect to the article concerning trash needs.
Mr. Moderator, for the record, Adam Costa, Town Council, the chairman has asked me to address the authority for assessing fees for solid waste collection. So this is actually regulated by statute in Massachusetts. Chapter 44, Section 28C of the Massachusetts General Laws addresses the process for refuse collection, trash disposal, and who has the authority to dictate how that occurs in the municipality. And specifically, it assigns that task to the chief executive officials of the town, which in a town like Townsend is your select board. So it's the select board authority. I actually have the statute open because I anticipated this question might come up tonight. And it specifically says that in any city or town acting by and through the officer's board, committee, or other body authorized by law to fix, revise, charge, and collect fees and charges, and otherwise acting through its chief executive officer is authorized to fix, revise, charge, and collect fees and other charges for facilities or services relating to the collection or disposal of solid waste. So we did have this discussion several weeks ago, me and the chair of the select board as well as the town administrator, in terms of who had the authority, which public body had the authority to dictate and determine appropriate fees for the collection of trash, and that authority does lie with the select board. Thank you.
Any comments come on the article? Ms. Craven, I know you had your hand up.
Mr. Moderator, to the chair. First, I will compliment you. I know you all are trying really hard. You have done a lot. Evidence of that in the handout that you put out. While I had some heartache over the situation with the school because I do feel like we were given a 2.5 override by taking it out of the stabilization, I feel like this really is a 2.5% override situation because in May we did vote for $825,000 some odd change, don't quote money on the exact figure. And even in the handout tonight, there's compliments for the Board of Health for reducing the trash collection fee by $70,000. What I'm hearing through this, while not written on paper, is that there's a shortfall in our budget by some $800,000 that you need to now collect with fees. I understand if we have a shortfall. I just really wish that we were going back, and I know it's a horrible process, but back to the budget, going back to square one, and just really telling us what's going on so that we can understand and be there to support our fellow community members, those that work in our town, those of you that are trying to lead our town. If we have a shortfall, please tell us we have a shortfall so that we can make really informed choices on how to help you get over that shortfall. Because now I hear a fee. We did vote part of our taxes in that line item for solid waste. It's listed here that the Board of Health did reduce that. Tell us what the shortfall is. Tell us how we have to help make that shortfall be overcome for the benefit of our community. But don't keep us in the dark. I feel a little bit uncomfortable about this one. And I do know what Attorney Costa read is the truth, that the town fathers do have the right to assess a fee. But just come out and tell us there's going to be a fee coming and a process. Like, does my empty lot with a barn get a fee? One of my properties has 2 tax bills on it. It's a divided tax bill. My other property has a single tax bill. Like, how is this going to be done? Just lay it out for us so that we know. That's my heartache over this article is that I see the fee coming. It was already set in our taxes. So just lay it out. Tell us what's going on.
Good for you. She had her hand up.
I just had a question. Why wasn't the bag paid by bag fee considered instead of going through this complicated hiring of software and everything?
software to buy, there's no overtime, there's no collecting if somebody doesn't pay, and everybody just pays whatever they, trash they put out.
Comments on the article? Mr. Shanker, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. As far as, I'm going to try to knock out a couple of these. Number one, there was a conversation in regards to the trash bags and all of that, but that's not something that the select board had talked about. It was given to us in the 11th hour, and this goes along the same line that if history repeats itself, the Board of Selectmen make very poor decisions when forced with something in the 11th hour, and I wanted to make sure that we looked at all of the options before we made a decision. That's number one. Number two, with that particular proposal, my first question to the town administrator was the Board of Health asked about this? And they were not, so I did not feel comfortable moving forward with that at this particular time. As far as the where the budget stands right now, when we had our discussions in regards to the override, I thought it was clear that if the override did not pass, we would have to look at the trash budget. We need to fund that particular line item, and this is why we have this particular proposal on here to make it equal to everybody here in town.
Mrs. Sedano.
Mr. Moderator, we have a line item called solid waste. It went from $770,000, $100,000 in 2024 to $839,664 for fiscal year 2025. That was a 9% increase. I think what people are looking for, and the question is, how does that number relate? Like, how much are you taking from there, assuming that's what you're doing, to put into the school budget, and then now you're going to charge a fee for trash because you committed to a contract? We need some numbers. If you could just explain it to us simply, it might help.
Question comes on the motion. Any ability to reply to that? Do we have any idea of what numbers are involved at this point?
I didn't understand the question.
I believe Sedana was asking given the fact that we appropriated $829,000 at the annual town meeting for trash collection, how is that number going to be affected by this meeting?
What's in front of the town now is a question of spending $25,000 to set up the administration process to collect the fees. I don't believe the final details on how that fee process will work have been determined yet. We're still doing this. We've been meeting weekly the last couple of weeks to do this. The Board of Health had been invited to participate in those meetings. The chair showed up at one meeting briefly, but the Board of Health has been extended the invitation to show up for these meetings. We're trying to work out the process. The best estimation at this point is it will cost some process to set up the fee collection. And that's what we're asking for tonight. We're not spelling out the actual details on the fee collection. That will be presented at a select board meeting when they actually vote the fees. But we're talking about how to collect as much of that $822,000 as possible. And that's what's being presented in this article tonight, setting up that process.
All right, where's the point of order? Ms. Craven, is that your point of order?
Point of order. Point of order from the annual town meeting of May 7th. If this was already voted for the trash in that line item, how do we now move it to other line items when it's already been voted on? We voted specifically for that line item. Now I'm hearing those funds are going to go put into other line items. It seems like we're undoing something that our town voted on, and I feel that that sets some really bad precedent. So that's my point of order. My question is, can this get tabled, worked out in the proper manner, and come back with the actual numbers of what this is going to look like at another meeting? So 2 questions and 1 point of order.
Okay. I don't think there was a point of order there, but there was a question. I think you're addressing the question that how can we address a budget item in this article.
Yes, so in hearing...
And I think the answer is, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we're not addressing the trash collection amount that was voted in May of this year. And I'm going to turn that over to Ms.
But what I've heard is the point of order, Mr. Moderator, was that those funds will now be used for something else, but we've already voted on them for that line item. So how does that happen?
Okay, so yeah, I understand your point of order is how can we be voting on, essentially it sounds like re-voting on the trash budget that was voted in May without an article to actually do that. This is only raising $25,000 for raising fees. Is that your question?
What I heard was the funds are needed.
To use a mic,
What I'm hearing is the funds are needed elsewhere, so we have to have a fee to cover the trash removal. Because in one spot we say here that the trash was negotiated at $70,000 less than prior. So we voted to cover the solid waste fee on May 7th, some $800 plus or minus dollars. Now we're adding to that to manage a fee, but if we already voted our tax dollars to cover that on Article 4 on May 7th, where's that money going? And can we just move that money where we already voted for that money to be in that line item on May 7th?
Okay, I think we got you now. Okay. Ross, you got that? Okay.
Let me try this. The $70,000 that was mentioned as the reduction in the trash fee, that was a negotiated rate where the contractor quoted $70,000 more for FY25, and through the efforts of the Board of Health, they were able to get him to lower his rate. Actually, I believe he lowered it, or he kept his rate from FY24 the same. So that was $70,000 that didn't go into the FY25 budget. Now we're adding $25,000 because there's a new process, a new expense being added, and we're requesting the town to fund that new expense.
Why? What happened to the 825?
Mr. Costa.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. So the 825 is still there. The issue is that you need a different source of revenue to provide those funds, because some of the tax revenue that you provided in addition to state aid that funds the general fund on an annual basis is needed for the many other things we've been discussing this evening, including but not limited to the school budget. And so in order to generate an additional source of revenue to go into that general fund to then get raised and appropriated, we're not changing that raise and appropriate from the annual town meeting, that 822,000 plus or minus. That's still going to be raised and appropriated from the general fund. But how is that money getting into the general fund if some of the money that was in there is needed for other purposes that we've discussed? Well, that's where the trash fee comes into the discussion. That trash fee is going to be a local source of revenue that will be placed into the general fund, and you will be raising and appropriating that same, or a portion at this point, because we're partly into the fiscal year, a portion of that $822,000 for that purpose.
So bottom line, we are in a deficit. We need to raise funds. Rather than bringing it back to a budget process where we have a choice of cuts or 2.5, we're imposing a fee. So we just exceeded our 2.5. That's my angst with this, is that we voted the funds, they were there, now we don't have funds because of school or otherwise. I don't see something with the numbers. And again, I'm not against the Board of Selectmen coming back to ask us for revenue, but just please list it out, what we had, what we're short, and tell us, is this an override or not? Put it back out to a vote, put our budget back out, but I don't like taking something that we had in a budget, our budget was balanced, and now it's not, because it sets a horrible precedent. I'm sorry, you guys are doing a great job, but I have huge hates with this.
Okay, comments coming on the motion, Mr. Perry.
This is not an override, because the override failed twice. There was some discussion with the select board about whether they should come back for a third bite at the apple and ask for another override. The thought was maybe we only need 900,000, maybe that would pass better than $1.6 million the first time. There's also the sense that if the voters have told the town twice, no override, how many times do you ask before you listen to what the voters are saying? There was a shortage in the budget. We looked at how to balance that. You've heard some of the adjustments tonight that we're making. The other way to adjust that is collecting fees on trash. It's not pleasant. It's not anything that anybody down there obviously wants or up here wants, but it was a way to do this and to balance the budget.
I know I don't have a microphone, but we should have the choice of what the numbers are. We don't know what the numbers are. We don't know what the calculations are. We don't know the formula. We don't know how much money.
So what I'm saying is we do not know what the numbers are. So you're asking us to give permission for this without knowing what the fees will be. If we could just turn the clocks back and have a real frank discussion on these are the numbers, this is the shortfall, this is how we need to make it up, rather than it being decided for us or having this precedent set that we have a balanced budget on May 7th, and now we don't, and now we're being assessed fees in lieu of cuts or a 2.5 override. We are the community, and again, bless your hearts for what you do, but we should be afforded that choice and opportunity to have all the numbers before us, and to go into this not knowing what the fees are, I don't think is appropriate for a town meeting form of government.
Okay, a lot of people have their hands up. I'm trying to go by who's had their hands up the longest. So the gentleman towards the back, in front of Mr. Lequier, I think, and then Ms. Lizio, and then Ms. King, and then up at the bell.
Dan Schmitz from Sherman Road. So I guess I think we're going to skirt around it, is how much money do we expect to raise from this new fee?
Question comes on the motion. How much money are we raising with this proposed new fee? Is that the question?
We estimate that the monthly fee for individual households will be in the vicinity of $40 a month. We expect to raise from this $550,000. If we raise the $550,000 with the changes we made in the budget tonight, we will have a balanced budget. And we think that that's a doable number to get $550,000 out of the $822,000.
Okay, comments come on the motion. Ms. Lizio. No, Mr. Lequier, you had your hand up earlier, but Ms. Lizio had her hand up. I didn't recognize you, Mr. Lequier. Ms. Lizio.
I have to say that I'm agreeing with Ms. Craven. I want to say this as kindly as I can because I've sat there before and I know the angst that you go through. I really do. That's why I'm not sitting there anymore. But I think I would like the choice. And I think that in a way is what Kim's saying. We want to be involved in how those decisions get made. There are several options. One, you could go back for an override to cover the trash and we'd be all set, okay? And that would help us in future years a little bit because it's increasing your levy limit. I understand that wasn't palatable to you. But even though you have the right to create a fee, doesn't necessarily mean it's the right decision. There could be other options. And I know time is short and that's part of it. But I've seen you before put study committees together and try to figure out what are the different options and which ones would be the best, and come to us with those options. This feels to me like we're not involved in the decision. You're just asking us for money to implement the fee. And all right, so it's $40 a month. It's like an override in a way because it's on top of our taxes. But we don't have a voice in the decision-making process. And that doesn't feel right. We've always done that more openly and methodically than this. And I'm disappointed that we're not doing it now.
Comments come on the motion. Man on the balcony, and then Mr. Leclerc.
I'm Irene Condon on 133 Brookline Street, and I actually do this for my job. I've been doing it for over 22 years. I work with communities looking at what to do with this trash issue and this budget. I was only able to come to one meeting that the Board of Selectmen had to talk about options. And we've come as a town and we've done amazing jobs on reducing our trash and going, we first started, when I first moved in 20 years ago, we were at 2,400 pounds per household per year. We're now at 1,600 pounds per household per year, so we've done an incredible job with our transfer station, going from unlimited trash to just 2 bags of trash a week under our tax base. Lunenburg is same amount of households. They're half. They're about 700 pounds of trash per household. A portion is still on the budget, and a portion is paid by taxes. There are options, and the one thing I want you to be aware of, and I know the first time we're talking, is there are towns that go like this and just go to a flat fee. Southbridge just started March 1st with a flat fee, and I gave an information and said, hey, what's your advice to Townsend? They're like, don't go. I'm sorry, they just went and they said, don't go flat fee. Because one household that has one person that's 9 years old, and I'm a family of 10, and in some cases, we put out different amounts of trash. And we have families that put out 50, that have larger families, but they actually put out less trash because they compost and reuse and go to the transfer station and look what they buy. This fee is what happened in Ashby. So 20 years ago, Ashby had a great curbside program. They decided, let's go this way, next year, the price is gonna have to go up, because Shaw's been really good to us with keep on reducing. He can't do that if everybody's budget goes up. So we gotta be prepared.
That's right.
Thank you.
Jim McQueer back. I look at this as you got a bunch of officials that are stuck in the mud right now. If you vote this in, we're gonna waste another $25,000 because they have no plan, they have no destination. The Board of Health has handled this as the first contract. We understand what's going on in your curbside. We want to maintain that for you people. Move the question, please.
Gentlemen, recognize the motion, move the question after you've had the last word on the article, on the motion. Is there anything else to be said? Move the question. Going to be recognized. Gentlemen in the back row.
That is Mark Paulson Drive. Let's move the question, please.
Okay. That's the way to do it. All right, the motion's been made to move the question. Cut off debate and start debating. All those in favor of moving the question, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. No. The ayes have it. So, it is before you. I don't think I need to repeat it. Article 6. 25,000. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. No. Noes have it. Article 7. See if the council vote to amend Article 11 of the May 2021 ATM by increasing the amount allocated for the category vote 930 the count, number, and all that. You can read that. That's the motion. Anything to be said? Or is that motion? Sorry.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend Article 11 of the May 8th, 2021 annual town meeting by increasing the amount allocated for a Caterpillar Voter 930M lease, account number 307-04-580-2022-0000 by the sum of $13,200 and raising and appropriating the same.
Motion's been made and seconded. Anything to be said? Seems we're ready to vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Article 8. To see if the town will vote to close out old warrant articles transferred to the general fund, the account balances as indicated below for a total of $18,750, or any other sum, or take any other action in relation thereto. The numbers are in the warrant. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to close out all warrant articles and transfer to the general fund the account for certain balances totaling the sum of $18,750 as follows. Read them.
If the meeting will allow, it's as printed in the warrant?
As printed in the warrant.
Okay. Does anybody want each one read? Okay. Then it's before you. Basically, we're closing out monies that weren't spent and transferring it to good purposes, right? Okay. All those in favor? Is there anything to say? No. All right. All right, there is a hand up in that balcony.
Was down. I just had a question about the second item in that, that's $13,780. What is the housing production plan?
Question comes on motion. Mr. Secretary.
The housing production plan is something that the town has to produce to the state once every 5 years. This particular article was approved amount was put into an account for the housing production plan. However, it was the actual invoice for the plan was taken out of the general fund and not from the fund that this was put into. So this is to replenish, to put back into the general fund.
I see, thank you.
Comments come on the motion? Anything else to be said? If we are ready to vote, all those in favor of the motion on Article 8, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, unanimous. Article 9, to see if the town will vote to accept Mass General Laws, Chapter 41, Section 108P, which states, in any city or town or district that accepts this section, a collector or treasurer who has completed the necessary course of study and training and has been awarded a certificate by the Massachusetts Collectors and Treasurers Association, and I'm going to skip through a little bit, shall receive compensation from the town. And is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to accept Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 108, as printed in the law.
Okay, motion made to approve this article, which, is there anything to be said? Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, through you. I just wanted to make it clear that this is not going to affect the budget in 2025. This will be put into the budget in 2026.
Comments come on the motion. Anything else to be said? So we're ready to vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. No. The ayes have it. Article 10. The last article was approved by a majority vote. Article 10, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to acquire by gift, purchase, or eminent domain or otherwise certain drainage easement through property known as and numbered 94 Fitchburg Road. With your permission, I'm not going to read the rest of the article and ask for a motion. Mr. Secretary.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to authorize the select board to acquire by gift, purchase, eminent domain, or otherwise a certain drainage easement through property known as and numbered 94 Fitchburg Road, Townsend, Massachusetts, which property and easement therein are described in the warrant, as further shown on a plan entitled Drainage Easement Exhibit Plan prepared by Goldsmith, Priest, and Ringwall Incorporated, and dated August 5th, 2024. No town meeting appropriation being required, therefore, where $4,000 in funding will be by dedication of ARPA funds by the Board of Selectmen.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there anything to be said? Any questions? Ma'am? Ms. Schaff?
Does the Conservation Commission have any recommendation? Does this in any way impact conservation as easements sometimes do?
Okay, question comes on Article 10. Is there anyone from conservation that can respond to this, or Mr. Lara?
The conservation has been instrumental in working with the developer on this easement and understands where the water's coming from and going to. And my understanding is they fully support this.
Okay, comments come on the motion. Is there anything else to be said? Is we ready to vote? All those in favor of the motion on Article 10, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. No. The ayes have it. And I believe Article 11, see if the town will vote to transfer from stabilization funds needed to balance the budget. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, make a motion, take no action.
Second? Second. Motion's been made and seconded, take no action on Article 11. As you all know, we already dealt with this in Article 4. Anything to be said? All those